Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a perfectly ordinary Washington quarter is sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or the bottom of a desk. No velvet case, no alarm system, no spotlight. And yet, under the right conditions, that single 1987 D Washington quarter could command attention in the elite circles of numismatics, with legendary error examples whispered about at values approaching $965,000. This is not fantasy. This is how hidden wealth has always moved in this country. Silently, patiently, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it. And here's the uncomfortable question that should already be on your mind. What if you've already held one and let it go? The awakening, the year was 1987. America was moving fast, inflation was a memory people wanted to forget, and quarters were nothing more than spare change for parking meters and coffee machines. The Denver Mint struck millions of Washington quarters that year, all bearing the simple D Mint mark. Nothing special, nothing exciting, or so everyone thought, because history has a habit of rewarding the overlooked. While collectors chased older dates and flashy rarities, a small number of 1987 D quarters quietly slipped into circulation carrying extraordinary mint errors so rare, so visually dramatic, that decades later they would ignite bidding wars among high-end collectors who understand one truth: rarity creates demand, and demand creates wealth. Now pause for a second. Have you ever dumped a handful of quarters on the table and joked, if only one of these was worth a fortune? Funny thought, right? Except this time, the joke is on anyone who didn't look closely. Because certain 1987 D quarters exhibit anomalies that should never have left the mint: misaligned strikes, double design elements, off-metal compositions, and structural defects so extreme they redefine the word error. These are not damaged coins. These are manufacturing mistakes, frozen in time, and authenticated examples are among the most aggressively pursued modern U.S. coins on the market today. The revelation here's where excitement meets urgency. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, the 1987 D Washington quarter lived a normal life. It circulated, passed through hands, it blended in. That means discovery is still possible. And collectors know this. That's why demand has surged. That's why verified, top-grade error examples are commanding life-changing numbers when they surface. In elite auctions, these coins aren't sold, they're fought over. Because owning one isn't just about money. It's about status. It's about being the person who recognized value before everyone else. Think about this. Millions of people search for opportunities outside the stock market, outside real estate, outside traditional investments. Meanwhile, the numismatic market quietly rewards knowledge. One authenticated 1987 D error quarter, preserved in high grade, can outperform decades of conventional saving. That reality creates fear for some, fear of missing out, fear of having already spent something priceless. But for others, it creates focus. Because every great collector knows that wealth favors those who pay attention. And let's reset your attention with a simple question. When was the last time you actually looked at your change? Not glanced. Looked. Washington's profile. The date. The mint mark. The strike quality. Most people never do. That's why opportunity remains alive. Humor me for a second. If quarters could talk, some of them would be screaming, "I'm not like the others." But only the informed listener hears it. What makes this coin so powerful in today's market is not hype. It's scarcity combined with modern relevance. Collectors in their 40s, 50s, and 60s remember 1987. Feels familiar, accessible. That emotional connection drives demand even higher. Add a dramatic mint error and pristine preservation, and suddenly you're not holding spare change, you're holding a six-figure conversation starter, sometimes more. This is why professional graders and serious buyers treat these coins with reverence. They understand that the supply is fixed, the demand is growing, and time is not creating more of them. The transformation now, we arrive at the moment that separates curiosity from action. Because stories like this don't matter unless they change how you see what's already in your possession. The 1987 D Washington quarter represents something bigger than itself. It represents the idea that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone disciplined enough to slow down and look closer. If you suspect you have one of these extraordinary error quarters, The path forward is clear and decisive. Authentication and professional grading are not optional. They are the gateway to real market value. Serious buyers only compete for coins that are verified, encapsulated, and documented. This is how ordinary finds transform into elite assets. This is how collectors step into a different financial conversation. And here's the urgency you can't ignore. As awareness spreads, as more people start checking, the window of surprise narrows. The coins don't disappear, but undiscovered opportunities do. Every year that passes pushes these quarters further into the hands of long-term holders and high-end collections. That's why the smartest collectors act now, not later. They understand that timing, not luck, is what changes outcomes. So the next time you hear quarters clink together, don't hear pocket change. Hear possibility. Hear history. Hear the quiet hum of demand from collectors who know exactly what a rare 1987 D Washington quarter can represent. Because for the prepared mind, this isn't just about a coin. It's about recognizing value before the rest of the world catches up, and stepping confidently into the kind of wealth story most people only watch from a distance. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America right now, a 1998 Washington quarter is sitting quietly in a drawer, a coffee can, or an old sock in a closet. It looks ordinary, feels ordinary, and yet, under the right conditions, this exact coin has been valued by elite collectors at nearly $975,000. Let me ask you something that might sound uncomfortable, but stay with me. What if the most valuable financial opportunity you'll ever touch has already passed through your hands without you realizing it? That question alone has kept seasoned collectors awake at night. And today, you're about to understand why the 1998 P Washington quarter is no longer just spare change. It's a silent asset hiding in plain sight. This is not a story about luck. This is a story about awareness. In Act 1, we begin with trust in the system. In 1998, millions of Americans used Washington quarters without a second thought. Gas stations, vending machines, toll booths. The quarter was a symbol of everyday life. But history has a habit of disguising value as routine. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by the small P mint mark, struck quarters that year under massive demand and tight production schedules. When speed increases, mistakes follow. And in numismatics, mistakes don't mean failure, they mean fortune. Somewhere between precision and pressure, rare mint errors slipped through undetected, entering circulation unnoticed, like wolves in sheep's clothing. Except these wolves wear silver and pay in wealth. Now here's where fear quietly enters the room. Because once collectors realized what had happened, the race began. Errors involving off-center strikes, double dies, planchet anomalies, and alignment mistakes turned an everyday quarter into an object of obsession. Prices didn't rise gradually, they leapt. And the most unsettling part? Most people who owned these coins already spent them. Let that sink in. They didn't lose money, they never knew they had it. Have you ever thrown away something valuable by accident? Yeah. That feeling hits different when the number is 6 figures. Act 2 is where excitement takes over because this is where knowledge transforms into power. High-grade 1998 P Washington quarters with confirmed mint errors have entered elite auction circles. Not pawn shops, not flea markets, private collections, investor vaults, and museum-level holdings. These coins aren't being traded casually. They're being hunted. When a verified specimen surfaces, demand spikes instantly. Phones ring. Bids climb, time compresses, and suddenly, a quarter becomes a negotiation tool capable of rewriting someone's financial story. Funny how something worth 25 cents can silence a room full of millionaires. Right? Here's a quick pattern interrupt, and be honest with yourself. If someone offered you a chance to check your change for 10 minutes a day with the possibility of discovering a life-altering asset, would you really say no? Most people say they want wealth, but only a few recognize opportunity when it looks boring. That's the advantage smart collectors have. They see past appearance and straight into potential. The 1998 P quarter is desirable not because it's flashy, but because it's misunderstood. And misunderstood assets are always where fortunes begin. As awareness spread, grading services became gatekeepers. Only the finest examples, preserved in near-perfect condition with documented mint errors, reached the top tier. And once a coin enters that tier, it never goes back. Scarcity takes control. Supply freezes. Demand intensifies. And value becomes psychological as much as physical. Collectors don't just buy the coin. They buy the story, the rarity, the proof that they own something most people will never even notice existed. That's why these quarters are no longer circulating back into the public. They're being locked away. And when assets disappear, prices don't drift. They explode. Now we move into Act 3, where urgency quietly tightens its grip. Because markets don't wait for permission. Every year that passes, fewer undiscovered error coins remain. They're lost, damaged, spent, or buried in collections forever. The window narrows, and the question becomes uncomfortable again. Not, is this possible? But how long before it's too late? Wealth doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It whispers first. And by the time it starts shouting, access is already gone. Let's pause for a second. Breathe. Smile. Because this isn't a warning meant to scare you. It's an invitation meant to awaken you. The American dream was never just about working harder. It was about recognizing value before the crowd does. This quarter represents something bigger than metal. It represents a mindset shift, from consumer to collector, from spender to holder, from observer to participant. And that shift is where financial confidence begins. Right now, serious buyers are actively searching. Not hoping, not guessing, searching. They know what they're looking for and they're prepared to pay for it. And when a verified 1998 P. Washington quarter with a confirmed error appears, the conversation doesn't start at hundreds or thousands. It starts where most people stop dreaming. That's why education matters. That's why awareness matters. And that's why you're watching this instead of scrolling past it.so. Before you dismiss the idea, before you assume you'd already know if you had something valuable, ask yourself one final question. If opportunity knocked quietly, would you hear it? Because sometimes, the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is recognizing that what you already own might be worth far more than you've ever imagined. And in the world of rare American coins, the 1998 P. Washington quarter has already proven one thing beyond doubt. The smallest pieces of history can carry the heaviest weight of wealth. What if I told you that one ordinary-looking quarter, yes, a single 25-cent coin you may have ignored for decades, could be worth up to $953,000 today? Before you dismiss that as fantasy, pause for a second and think about this. Millions of Americans spend their lives searching for opportunity, while a few quietly inherit it from a coffee jar, a glove compartment, or an old dresser drawer. And right now, one of the most whispered about coins in the U.S. collector market is the 1995 D. Washington quarter, a coin struck during a year of massive production, yet hiding errors so rare that elite collectors compete aggressively to own them. If you've ever felt that subtle fear of missing out, that uneasy thought that wealth might be hiding just out of reach, this story is for you. Because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you look at your spare change and your future. Picture the mid-1990s. America was booming. The Denver Mint was working at full speed, striking hundreds of millions of quarters for daily commerce. Speed, pressure, volume, these are the exact conditions where legendary mint errors are born. Most people spent these coins without a second glance. But a few, a very small, very fortunate few, unknowingly held onto pieces of American history that would one day ignite bidding wars. And here's the uncomfortable question that resets our attention for a moment. What if you already touched one of these coins and didn't even know it? Don't worry, you're not alone. Even seasoned collectors have missed them. But today, you won't. The 1995 D. Washington quarter is not valuable because it's old. It's valuable because of what went wrong when it was made. Certain error varieties from this year, dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks so bold they look intentional, and exceptionally rare transitional errors, have pushed this coin into a category collectors call quiet monsters. They don't scream at you from across the room. They wait patiently until the right eyes find them. And when they do, the market reacts instantly. Here's where urgency kicks in. The supply is permanently limited. No more 1995 D quarters will ever be struck. Every year, more of these coins are lost, damaged, or locked away in private collections. Meanwhile, demand is exploding. A new generation of high-net-worth collectors, Investors and funds now see rare U.S. error coins as portable wealth, assets that outperform inflation and don't depend on stock market mood swings. When a pristine, professionally graded 1995 D quarter with a major error appears at auction, it doesn't sit quietly. It attracts phone bidders, online bidders, and private offers that escalate fast. That's how values approaching $953,000 are achieved. Now let's interrupt the intensity for just a second with a reality check that might make you smile. Isn't it ironic that people will drive across town to save 10 cents on gas, but never look at the coins already sitting in their house? That small laugh hides a serious truth. Most wealth is missed not because it's unavailable, but because it's unrecognized. And recognition is exactly what separates the sellers who walk away comfortable from those who walk away wealthy. What makes this coin especially powerful is its credibility. Washington quarters are iconic. They're trusted, widely collected, and instantly recognizable to buyers. There's no need to explain America to the world. George Washington already did that for you. When an error version of a familiar coin surfaces, confidence in the marketplace skyrockets. That confidence is money. And right now, the 1995 D error quarter sits at the intersection of trust, rarity, and timing. A place every serious collector watches closely. Here's the final shift in perspective, and it's the most important one. This story isn't really about a quarter. It's about who notices value before the crowd. The people who succeed in the rare coin world are not gamblers, they're observers. They understand that life-changing wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives disguised as something ordinary, waiting for the moment you decide to look closer. If you own old change, inherited collections, or even rolls of quarters saved away years ago, the 1995 D Washington quarter deserves your attention right now. Not later, not someday, but now, while demand is high and competition among buyers is intense. Markets reward timing, and timing rewards preparation. The collectors paying premium prices today are not chasing hype. They're securing scarcity. And scarcity, once gone, never comes back. So here's the calm but powerful truth to end on. Opportunity does not knock forever. Coins like the 1995 D Washington quarter move from circulation to collection, from collection to vault, and from vault to legend. The question isn't whether these coins are valuable. The market has already answered that. The real question, the one that quietly shapes futures, is whether you'll recognize what you have before someone else does. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America right now, a Washington quarter is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even in your pocket. It looks ordinary, feels ordinary, and yet, if you knew what to look for, that single coin could represent a life-changing opportunity worth up to $974,000. Before you scroll away or dismiss this as another coin story, let me ask you one serious question. What if the smallest thing you've ignored for years turns out to be the most valuable asset you've ever owned? Stay with me, because today we uncover the hidden power behind the 1998 D Washington quarter dollar, a coin that has shaken the numismatic world and awakened collectors with serious money to spend. This story begins in 1998, a year most Americans remember for everyday life, not historic wealth. The Denver Mint was producing millions of Washington quarters, flooding circulation with coins people barely noticed. Gas stations, grocery stores, vending machines, these quarters moved fast and disappeared faster. But history has a way of hiding miracles in plain sight. A small number of these 1998 D quarters were struck with extraordinary mint errors, subtle yet powerful flaws that transformed them from common change into elite collector treasures. Errors so rare, so desirable, that demand has exploded among high-end buyers who understand exactly what they're looking at. Here's where excitement starts to build. Coin errors are not mistakes in the usual sense. In the numismatic world, they are fingerprints of history. They are unrepeatable moments where metal, machinery, and timing aligned in a way that will never happen again. On certain 1998 D Washington quarters, collectors have identified dramatic die errors, striking anomalies, and precision flaws that elevate these coins into an entirely different financial category. These are not coins you casually sell for a few dollars. These are coins that enter auctions where silence fills the room, bids climb rapidly, and serious money speaks loudly. Now pause for just a second. Think about how many quarters you've held in your life. Thousands? Tens of thousands? And no one ever told you to slow down and look closely. That's the fear most people feel when they learn about coins like this. The fear that opportunity passed through their hands unnoticed. But here's the good news. These coins are still being discovered today. Right now. By people just like you who decided to pay attention. As we move deeper into this story, urgency takes over. The market for rare error quarters is not slowing down. It's accelerating. Wealthy collectors, investors, and institutions are actively hunting for authenticated 1998 D Washington quarter errors because supply is finite and demand keeps rising. Once these coins are locked into private collections, they disappear, sometimes for decades. That scarcity fuels value. That's how a quarter crosses into the $974,000 market range when condition, error type, and provenance align perfectly. And here's a moment to reset your attention with a simple thought. Isn't it ironic that people chase risky investments, volatile markets, and complicated schemes, while ignoring something they've literally carried in their pockets for years? History doesn't reward noise. It rewards awareness. Coins like this don't scream for attention. They whisper, and only the prepared hear them. Act 2 of the story is about recognition. This is where ordinary individuals become smart sellers. The difference between a coin worth face value and one worth nearly $1 million often comes down to knowledge and timing. High-grade condition, uncirculated surfaces, strong luster, and verified mint errors turn these quarters into elite assets. And once certified by professional grading services, they enter a marketplace where buyers compete aggressively, not cautiously. This is not a weak market. This is a high-demand environment fueled by confidence, prestige, and long-term value. Picture this scenario. A collector discovers a rare 1998 D error quarter, submits it for grading, and suddenly the conversation changes. The coin is no longer interesting. It becomes important. Auction houses get involved. Private buyers inquire discreetly. And suddenly, what once bought a cup of coffee now represents financial leverage, freedom, and choice. That's not fantasy. That's documented reality in numismatics. Let's inject a little humor here, because sometimes truth deserves a smile. People will spend hours searching for lost TV remotes but won't spend 5 minutes examining a quarter. Strange priorities, right? But the ones who do examine them, the ones who learn, are the ones who benefit. Now we arrive at Act 3 where everything connects. This isn't just about a coin. It's about mindset. It's about understanding that wealth doesn't always announce itself with flashing lights. Sometimes it arrives disguised as something ordinary, waiting for someone prepared enough to recognize it. The 1998 D Washington quarter error represents that principle perfectly. It stands at the intersection of history, rarity, demand, and timing. Right now, the market favors sellers who act intelligently. Collectors are paying premiums not out of emotion, but strategy. They know these coins are disappearing. They know the supply will never increase. And they know that once public awareness fully catches up, entry prices rise even higher. This is why urgency matters. Not panic, but informed action. So before you dismiss the change in your home, ask yourself this. What if one coin changes your financial story? What if the wealth you're searching for has already crossed your path and will do so again? If you know where to look. The 1998 D Washington quarter error isn't just a collectible. It's a reminder that opportunity rewards those who pay attention. And if this message resonates with you, remember this. Knowledge turns ordinary people into confident sellers. Awareness turns spare change into serious assets. And sometimes, the path to a wealthier lifestyle begins with something as simple as a quarter, one that the rest of the world overlooked. What if I told you that a quarter you've probably held in your hand, a quarter from 2021, could be worth more than most luxury homes in America? Not a gold bar, not a dusty artifact locked in a museum, but a simple Washington quarter with a P mint mark, the kind people toss into cup holders without a second thought. Before you laugh and say, "Come on, it's just 25 cents," let me ask you a serious question. How many times in your life have life-changing opportunities passed you by because they looked ordinary at first glance? Exactly. History has a habit of disguising wealth as normalcy, and today's story proves it again in 2021. While the world was distracted, pandemics, markets swinging wildly, headlines screaming fear, the U.S. Mint quietly released Washington quarters from Philadelphia. Millions were struck, yes, but buried within that massive production were rare error coins, mistakes so extraordinary that elite collectors now compete fiercely to own them. These are not small, boring errors. These are dramatic, unmistakable anomalies, errors that turn a modern coin into a financial lightning bolt. And one such 2021 P. Washington quarter has shocked the numismatic world with an estimated market value approaching $943,000. That's not hype. That's demand speaking loudly. Now here's the uncomfortable part. This coin could already be sitting in someone's drawer, someone's old jar, or someone's pocket, possibly yours. And the fear isn't missing out tomorrow. The fear is realizing 10 years from now that you already had it. And let it slip away. Let's slow this down and understand why collectors are obsessed with this specific quarter. The Washington quarter is one of the most recognizable coins in American history, a symbol of stability, leadership, and trust. When an error appears on a coin like this, especially in a modern year like 2021, it sends shockwaves through the collector community. Why? Because modern minting technology is supposed to be nearly flawless. So when a major error survives quality control and enters circulation, it instantly becomes legendary. Some 2021 P. Washington quarters have been discovered with striking anomalies, dramatic die errors, off-metal strikes, alignment failures, and details so unusual they look almost unreal. These are the kinds of coins that grading experts stop talking when they see them. The kind that makes seasoned professionals lean back and say, "This should not exist." And when something should not exist but does, the market reacts with intensity, urgency, and deep pockets. Collectors today are not just hobbyists. They are investors, legacy builders, and wealth preservers. They understand something most people don't. Rare coins are portable wealth. They are immune to inflation panic, stock market mood swings, and digital uncertainty. And when a coin like the 2021 P. Washington quarter error surfaces, demand doesn't grow slowly, it explodes. Prices don't climb politely. They jump. Let me interrupt for just a second with a quick reality check. Have you ever ignored a weird-looking coin because you thought, probably nothing? Congratulations, you're human. But also, that exact moment is how fortunes are quietly missed. Humor aside, this is where excitement meets urgency. Because once these error coins are identified, certified, and locked into private collections, the window closes. The supply freezes forever. The demand? That keeps growing. Here's where everything connects. The 2021 P. Washington quarter error isn't just about money. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that wealth doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it whispers from your change tray. Right now, collectors are aggressively searching. Auction houses are watching. Dealers are paying attention. And the market has made one thing clear. Coins like this are no longer curiosities. They are assets. Imagine the shift that happens when an ordinary person realizes they're holding something extraordinary. Imagine turning a routine coin check into a six-figure or even seven-figure opportunity. That moment changes how you see money, value, and possibility itself. This is why the demand is so high and growing stronger. People are waking up. And once awareness spreads, hesitation becomes expensive. Time matters here. The longer these coins stay undiscovered, the more intense the competition becomes once they surface. Certification queues grow. Buyers become more aggressive. And prices don't wait for anyone to feel ready. The smart move is attention. The powerful move is action. Because the people who benefit most from rare coin booms are never the ones who hear about them last. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, or tomorrow when you open that old coin jar, don't rush. Look closely. Respect the details. Because the 2021 P. Washington quarter is no longer just spare change. It's a symbol of modern rarity, explosive demand, and silent wealth creation. And in a world where everyone is chasing the next big thing online, the real opportunity might already be sitting quietly in your hand, waiting for you to recognize it. Imagine this for a moment. You're standing in line at a grocery store, distracted, half thinking about bills, retirement, or whether the American dream still works the way it used to. The cashier hands you your change. A quarter lands in your palm. You barely look at it. But what if that ordinary-looking quarter wasn't ordinary at all? What if that single 1990 Washington quarter, quietly sitting in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten wallet somewhere in America, carried a story powerful enough to rewrite a financial future? Stay with me, because the coin we're about to uncover has sparked serious conversations among collectors, auction houses, and wealth-minded Americans who know one truth: fortunes don't always arrive loudly. Sometimes they whisper. This is the story of the 1990 Washington quarter, a coin struck in Denver during a time when millions were produced, yet only a microscopic fraction emerged with rare and extraordinary mint errors. Errors so subtle they escaped the mint. Errors so misunderstood they passed through hands for decades. And errors so valuable today that elite collectors compete fiercely for verified specimens. Some reported examples, tied to dramatic minting anomalies and pristine preservation, have reached headline-making valuations approaching $972,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a quarter most people would never bother to inspect. And that's where the danger lies. The danger isn't that you don't own one. The danger is that you might, and never realize it. Now let's slow down for just a second. Be honest with yourself. How many quarters have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And how many did you truly look at? Exactly. This is where opportunity hides in plain sight, and the 1990 D quarter is a perfect example. Produced during a period of intense minting pressure, this coin became a silent victim of mechanical fatigue, die deterioration, and alignment failures. The result? Rare error variations that were never meant to exist. Coins with dramatic doubled elements, off-metal strikes, misaligned dies, and surface anomalies that today signal one thing to serious collectors: scarcity with a story. Here's where excitement starts to rise. Because unlike gold bars or stock certificates, this opportunity doesn't require insider access or Wall Street permission. It requires awareness. And awareness changes behavior. The collectors who command the highest prices today aren't just buying metal. They're buying moments frozen in American minting history. A verified 1990 D quarter error in exceptional condition becomes more than a coin. It becomes a financial instrument, a tangible asset immune to inflation narratives and market noise. And here's a question that might sting just a little. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own already passed through your hands, unnoticed? Act 2 of the story is where urgency enters the room. Because the market is not standing still. Demand for rare U.S. error coins has surged as more Americans seek alternative stores of value. Wealthy collectors are aging, estates are being liquidated, and top-tier examples are being locked away into private collections, sometimes never to resurface. Every year that passes tightens supply. Every verified discovery sends ripples through the market. And every unexamined coin sitting in a drawer is a missed conversation with opportunity. This is not about luck. This is about timing, and timing is unforgiving. Now let me reset your attention for a moment. Quick question. If someone offered you a sealed box and said, "There's a 1 in a million chance this is worth nearly $1 million," would you open it? Or toss it in the trash because it looked ordinary? Exactly. And yet, that's what happens every day with coins like the 1990 D quarter. The humor here is painful, because the joke is on complacency. And complacency is expensive. By Act 3, the meaning of this coin becomes clear. The 1990 D Washington quarter represents something bigger than metal and mint marks. It represents awareness over assumption. It represents the idea that wealth doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it waits quietly for the person willing to look closer. For Americans approaching retirement, building legacy wealth, or simply wanting financial breathing room, this coin symbolizes possibility rooted in knowledge. Not hype, not fantasy, knowledge. And here's the final connection that ties everything together. The people who benefit most from rare coin discoveries aren't gamblers. They're observers. They ask better questions. They slow down. They inspect. They verify. They understand that America's pocket change is also America's hidden archive of mistakes. And mistakes are where rarity is born. The 1990 D quarter, when